Hello, and welcome to the next installment of Cooking by the Book. My name is Douglas, a librarian here with Baltimore County Public Library, and this is the series where I run into the collection. I find a cookbook, we make it together, and we see if it works. I am very excited. Today, we are cooking from Mayumu by Abi Balingit. This is a Filipino American cookbook where recipes have been remixed, and we are going to try to make a Maja Blanca, which is a traditional Filipino corn and coconut pudding. I hope you're excited. This doesn't use an oven. It's a no-bake. We do have a saucepan. Let's get ready and get started. Okay, the first step is to make the pudding. We are going to be putting a lot of things into the saucepan, but we also need to thicken the pudding later in the process. So the first step is to use a cup of milk and a cup of cornstarch. The cornstarch is what is going to kind of thicken the pudding to the consistency that we need. So first, I want to add this cup of milk to the 1 cup of cornstarch. I'm using my big mixing bowl with this. And now I'm just going to use my whisk, and I'm going to whisk out all the lumps. I'm using 4 cups of full-fat coconut milk. I didn't work with that a lot before, and the one thing I learned was I had to empty the cans of coconut milk into a bowl first and then stir it up because the liquid and the solids in the coconut milk, in the full-fat coconut milk, separate. And so I wanted to get the full 4 cups, so I had to blend them together, but I've got those in my saucepan. I've got 1 cup of malted milk powder, which I'm going to add. I've got a 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then I have 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. So this is going to be a really sweet dessert, I think. But I think the coconut and the sweetened condensed milk are going to add a really nice flavor to it. And this is also going to thicken it up a bit. Eventually, I'm going to be adding the cornstarch mixture to it, and that's going to mix it up a little bit more. But I'm just throwing all of this into a saucepan. And I have it on high heat. And there's good, that's good. And I'm going to give this a stir. And then what I need to do is bring this to a boil. The cookbook says that this could take about 10 minutes, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let this simmer. I'm going to bring it up to a boil, and then I'm going to be adding a bag of frozen corn. Yes, there are frozen corn kernels that are in here as well. So we'll be back with you when we get to that step. And now this has started to come to a boil. It took some time. This is very thick. I'm going to be adding 16 ounces of frozen corn kernels. And this is a pretty big bag of corn, but it is going right in there. The one thing I love about this cookbook so far is that I can learn so much about different cultures through food. And I don't know much about Filipino cuisine, and I'm learning so much by reading about the recipes, how they were designed, what types of food they use, and I think it's really fun to experiment in the kitchen and try things that I might not be used to. And this is certainly something that I think is going to be delicious, but also I'm learning something new, and what's wrong with that? To let you know, I have never made a pudding from scratch before. My mother would just use an envelope of Jell-O and be done with it. So this is a new experience. I've got my milk mixed with my cornstarch, and I'm going to throw that in. And then we're going to let this go for about 3 minutes. What should happen is this should continue to cook, and then this is going to thicken. This is a pretty high liquid, so you do need a relatively large saucepan if you are making this. So I did cook this for about 3 minutes, and it has started to thicken up. I think that once I put it in the refrigerator and let it chill, it's going to be even thicker. I have a 9 by 13-inch glass baking dish. And look at this. It is filling this thing right up. Okay, well, it smells really good. It's not going to be boiling when we eat it, thank goodness. We're going to smooth this out. And, okay, I think this could have worked. What we're going to do is we are going to let this sit. We want this to come to room temperature. I'm going to let this sit for 30 minutes. I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna put it in the refrigerator and I'm gonna let it chill for 2 hours. So we are gonna see what happens when that step is done. But next, we are going to make a toffee out of Fritos. This involves something I have, but I don't use a lot, and that is a candy thermometer. I am gonna be cooking some butter, some brown sugar, and some vanilla. I'm going to bring that to a boil, and then I'm gonna let it cook until it hits 270 degrees, otherwise known as the soft crack stage. If I can get it to that temperature, I should be able to mix in my Fritos, and then I'll stir that together, spread it out, and we will make a Frito toffee topping to put on top of our pudding. What I love about Abi and this book is she really throws some really unusual ingredients. Who would think to put Fritos in a dessert? We are going to try it and see what happens. I'm adding the brown sugar right now. The butter has been melted, and I'm going to add the brown sugar, and then I'm just going to stir this in. And once the brown sugar is dissolved, we are going to try to get this up to 270 degrees. And I am watching this rise in temperature. So far, we are at about 200 degrees. I need to get it up to about 270, and it is bubbling away like a mad pot of bubbling brown sugar. So let's keep going. Okay, we are about to hit the, oh goodness, it's smoking. Oh goodness, but we have hit the 260 degrees. So let's waste no time and get our Fritos in there. Get our Fritos in there and get them coated. And now I'm just going to spread this out onto my cutting board right here. We're going to let this cool while the pudding is chilling in the refrigerator. And this is going to be the toffee Frito topping that is going to be broken up and then sprinkled over top of our pudding. I think this is really going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to learning how to make this for summer. I think this is going to make a wonderful picnic dessert. I think it's going to be bright, it's going to be flavorful, it's going to be sweet, and it's going to be something fun to take when you're going somewhere. And you know what? I am going to give Mayumu by Abi Balingit a 2 thumbs up. I thought the recipes were interesting. There were some ingredients that I thought were a little harder to find, but I think the challenge is worth doing. The caramelizing the Fritos is definitely a skill that I need to practice. Mine came out a little too dark, but I do hope that you check out this book and try an adventure. I think it's worth doing, and I can't wait to see you at the next episode.